Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. We have a book that my wife perfectly summed up for me the other day when this came in the mail, and she said, that book just looks like something that you would own. And she was absolutely correct. This book is something that I would own, and now I do. This is Magic Mayhem Metal by Tom Hunter, and as the back cover tells us, this is an art book full with things by Tom Hunter. I don't remember where I first saw his work. I know I all of a sudden saw this show up on Piao2's website when I was looking for something else. Probably the most recent video I did on one of their books. And I was like, holy crap, I recognize that stuff. And this dude's art is everything that I love about art on the internet. On the one hand, it looks somewhat simplistic, somewhat off, and I feel like that's a real disservice for me to say that because there is a very intentional line, I feel, behind a lot of the art in this book. But as you can see, I get immediate shades of like Elric or something, and I love this book. I love this book. For one thing, I should probably mention the fact that, yes, it's got a nice actual cover, but it's got this rockin' artwork behind it on both sides, and I don't remember coming across these in the book. And literally, that's all this book is nothing but big buff warrior dudes. And I've mentioned before in this channel that when it comes to my spheres of influence, and not influence, but interest, I should say, or influence in that regard also. That's just me coming full circle. Three things will always be appealing to me. That is samurai stuff, lizard men, and barbarians. Sadly, there's not much in the way of lizard men in this book, or, well, there's some samurai stuff, which we'll get to, but there are absolutely all sorts of barbarians. And by barbarians, I will also lump in every bit of northern chaos worshiper that has graced this channel or the pages of books for the last, 40 some odd years. So yeah, very much this is my kind of stuff. And immediately, I think one of the things I noticed about Hunter's art is that it really makes me think of Andrew McLean in his headlopper style stuff. And I love the fact that we've got the artist commentary on a lot of these. And like I said, the more I spend looking at these, there's a quickness to the line. So like you can see on the guy's pants there's kind of just like they're scribbled in. There's a very quick line covering a lot of detail. Same thing with like the chainmail on our wounded warrior right here. And while at first glance, it looks very just random, haphazard, like I said, I feel like there is a very, very intentional line behind a lot of it. The other thing that I absolutely love is that it just seems to embrace what it is, and that's just big buff dudes in fancy armor with weapons. Some of the pieces are a lot more elaborate than others. I'm just skipping chunks, and that's okay. It's obviously we want you to come take a look at this stuff too. And so I kind of figured that the title actually comes from the sections of the book. But again, something about it, like I said, really, I can sit here name dropping a bunch of different artists and works, but it really does give me that kind of cartoony vibe of Andrew McLean stuff. Crom's, like Bird King. Andrew's Headlopper. And I love the thickness of the lines. Oh my god. The fact that it looks like it's all accessories for action figures or something. If you go back and scroll through all of the various videos that I've posted of miniatures on this channel, you can see there is quite a lot of that. And there is quite a lot of Warhammer influence on this stuff as well, which is absolutely fine. In fact, there are quite a few Warhammer specific characters that show up in this book, in the illustrations. Literally, it's just page after page of cool dudes in armor. And the colors and just the strangeness of some of the stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it. Growing up as a major Kirby fan, I'll be honest, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about Kirby's artwork is when he just kind of goes off the deep end, envisioning weapons and armor of warriors from wherever they come from. And the Tales of Asgard in the original Thor run were some of my favorite comics. I've shown the book. I own various reprints of it. Speaking of very Kirby-esque. Well, I don't think Kirby designed the original Surtur, did he? I don't even remember now. But man, the use of color that just pops up throughout this book. The shapes as well. Now, this is probably one of the funniest sections, is in the back we've just got all sorts of random drawings. And I think that's where you can really see that while there is a lot of intentional stylistic choices to the way things look with our good old buddy Kenshiro here. It's just the character studies alone. And then we come into what look like the liner notes of my notebooks from high school. I was going to say college, but no, I was already picking up Yu Yu Hakusho. I was still going even when I was in high school, which was a long time ago, in the mid-90s. And I can absolutely remember sitting there doodling all sorts of characters from the big tournament arc in the margins of my class notes. So I absolutely love this stuff. Then we get into a bunch of random later stuff, but then there's JoJo. And I'm like, if any artist that just looking at their stuff will seem to really get the whole style of Araki and his crazy postures, Mr. Hunter here seems to absolutely get it. And speaking of Warhammer, as I was mentioning earlier, good old Karn. And I love that this Thulsa Doom just makes me think of like a Masters of the Universe action figure. I think they did something along those lines. I was talking with my kids how this actually looks like the artist, I can't think of his name at the moment, from Hunter x Hunter. Some of the doodles later on, around the end of the Chimera Ant arc. Now this is awesome. I'm awful at the From games. Going all the way back to Kingsfield, I might add. I loved Kingsfield. Probably my favorite of the old first-person games that they played was Shadow Tower. Not played. Shadow Tower with its two-player versus mode that we got way too much enjoyment out of. So I'm looking through the Sekiro stuff, and I'm familiar with it. I've watched playthroughs, but this is my jam. I absolutely love Neo. Can't say that I've played, what was it, their Wolong game. Their ancient Chinese one, which I know I need to get around to it. I'm like, all of my free time lately is either working on school stuff, because it's report card time, and they're done, thank you very much, or trying to deal with house stuff, or kid stuff, or every now and then, sit and read a book. But man, I played the crap out of the Neo games. And I'm like, this should be familiar to some of you folks out there. So just a really cool book if you're into this kind of art. And again, if anything, just the simplicity and the small amount of lines really reminds me of like when Bruce Timm really was starting to pop up on the scene, and you had Batman showing up, and again, a very intentional, clean line design, something different, something that was shaking things up. And I love that about this book. It's not the usual super detailed fantasy art, but it definitely has that detail there, and it's definitely out there in the realm of fantasy. And it's like, makes me excited and actually want to sit down and draw and illustrate again myself. I've never been much of an illustrator, at least in my eyes. I hate when I have coworkers say like, "Oh, Lord Chamberlain, you're such a good artist. Oh, why don't you do stuff for us?" I hear that too often, and I don't think that's me just being modest, but, you know, I don't have anything that looks like this. I don't know. And that's the kind of cool thing about this book, is it does make me want to sit down and do stuff like this, because I love this kind of stuff. And especially flipping through these back sections, I mean, this was my notes for God knows how many years, all through college. I was doing editorial cartoons for the school newspaper in college. I was doing them in high school. And then I just kind of stopped. And that makes me sad. I'm like looking at this stuff and I'm like, I need to get back to it. So if a book can inspire me like that, and I mean, I've had a lot of books on this channel that, you know, do speak to me, inspire me, you know, make me get creative and think about things, but I can't say that many of them have really made me want to sit down and pick up a pencil and just draw cool rock and metal stuff. Which is funny because I'm really not a metal fan. I mean, I've always been like a hardcore punk guy. But, and reggae and ska, believe it or not. Anyway, that's like divulging a bit too much info, but I think that is the highest accolade I can really throw at this book, is the fact that it makes me want to sit down and draw myself. So kudos to you, Tom Hunter, for making me want to try to draw, even though you are a far better artist than me. I will have to toss my hat into the ring then. So who knows? Maybe I'll try to post something on social media someday. But at least in the meantime, you guys can enjoy this. You can enjoy some of those other Piao2 books, because I gotta give them credit. Just their presentation is really top notch. The content is always visually stimulating and interesting. They are one of the few companies outside of like maybe Living the Line that really will be actually looked at by my family members. So to me, that's like the ultimate like wow factor. You've got to have a cool book if my in-laws, my brother, my wife, anybody actually is like, oh, well, this is kind of interesting. And I got to say, every time I've had one of their books, it's always been one of those that gets picked up and taken a look at and really, you know, positively commented on too. So that's pretty cool to say. So I'll have a link down there below, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy some of their books as much as I have lately. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye!